As someone who likes wood and woodworking, I feel extremely lucky to have these worktops in our kitchen. The staves are really big, most being over 7.5 inches wide and over 3 meters long. Being a true cardie means I can never have paid good money for these. I really dislike my ever-growing snobbery about wood, and it runs in complete contrast to the rest of my character. Or at least that's what I think, because I can still enjoy a warm tin of Foster's, well, not that warm, with my friends. But to my eye, big staves just look nicer than little ones, but they're also more expensive. However, for this wood, even if I could source the timber, I'd never been able to afford it, as teak makes even YouTube's favourite wood seem cheap in comparison. Oh, I'm super lucky. Exactly on its 100-year anniversary of being a chemistry bench, this wood was going to be rewarded for all its hard work by being given the task of rotting in landfill. More on that in a bit, but hopefully I've just given this another 100 years of life. With 2 worktops in and varnished, I decided to switch on the camera for the first time while making the third one. I'm still trying to articulate my desire to make a video on this. I think it's because I can just feel something beautiful brewing from what was otherwise discarded timber. Now, I could have taken one of the dead flat, nearly 4 meter long worktops and start cutting as most tradespeople will do, but cutting into those nice lengths just didn't sit right. So instead I took a cupped piece that was too small and used offcuts to add depth to what will be the back of the worktop. In this way I could work out the orientation that wasted least wood, lining up the original lab sink with where the new hob will go. I just really wanted to keep those nice long bits for another project, whatever that may be. But with no tripod yet, I cut out the slot with a temperamental jigsaw off camera. In my thirst for learning, and I've watched really quite a lot of YouTube videos, I've learned that this guy absolutely hates pallets, whereas this guy's really rather fond of them. Pallet wood! I might have got that the wrong way around, but I've also learned that I really enjoy watching people make great stuff from discarded wood. I know it sounds pretty cheesy, but I find it quite inspiring actually, and it's perhaps why I'd like to add this video to the already enormous pile of others. Despite being an adult, I first learnt the word cup from YouTube, from FloweringElbow. More than just a great name, he gives a really good demonstration of removing this bend from a big slab of wood.
This is more of a cupped type board. So that's bent across the width. There's the drain direction, and when it dries the face here shrinks more than the outside face, so it cups. I don't want to remove any more material, so I'm making these stress relieving cuts down the length of the board. So
following his advice, I cut slots into the bottom of the board, though I just ran the saw freehand down some marker lines. I just sort of lifted up the back end a bit here because this bit isn't very cupped at all and that bit is. I only went half depth as really I was just too much of a wimp really to go any deeper. But unlike that surgeon who removed the wrong kidney, I double, triple, quadruple checked us on the right side before cutting. You can see that this cup here can be just pulled down in my fingers here. Okay, now this cup, the cup in all the rest of it, okay, by cutting those lines, doesn't get rid of the cup, but what it does mean is we can push this bit down now, and I will screw up from underneath here in order to basically pull that cup out. Okay, now comes the really worrying bit when I need to route a slot along here to try and cover up the existing drip line, the drip edge this was, because this is the underside originally, now it's going to be the top. There is this patch here where whoever cut the original one has come wide, so that is going to leave a problem. A brief historical note on the drip edge that you might not be aware of is it was actually invented back in the day to get rid of clumsy chemistry students from class, as was the test tube. Look at its round bottom, perfect for holding dangerous chemicals. So you get a spill without a drip edge, it's just going to drain around, ruin your cupboards, or worse still, get on your teak cupboard doors. Okay, so instead, a drip edge, which actually isn't called a drip edge, it's called a draining groove, I've just found out, will mean that the liquid really struggles with that angle there, will build up and drip down onto what in those days was the latest in technology for footwear and the breathable running shoe. One less student in your class. High five! I'm going to use one of these, okay, and then run it along the side. I have to think carefully which way I push it, okay, because I want the cutting blade as it's rotating to make its cut pulling wood out that way, which means it's going to force the machine in that way against the line that I'm using. Okay, if I started to go down that way, my cuts would be going into the wood, pushing that way into the wood, which would push the machine away and give me the transfer wobble. Where did I learn that?
So let's see how I did. Fine. Good so far. Ah, oh god! I should have moved it in the direction that would push the router into the fence and not away from it.
Okay, I didn't dare try and hold the camera while routing, so here's the slot afterwards. A massive thank you to Jesper for sharing his mistake. It forced me to think this one through properly. Now, I ferreted away just the piece for a gently contrasting inlay, but the problem with a wood finding habit is you need a wood storage space. Mine spread all over the house, and even the little boy's cot bed's raised on boards of teak. But this piece was from a skip on our road. Judging by the writing on both sides, I think it was just 1950s packaging for a big load of plywood. But seeing a rough sawn piece turn smooth, close grain and golden is very satisfying. But I have no clue what the wood is though. It really has got a nice yellow colour to it. So this is it in position. Classic case of measure once, cut twice. This one was too thin. This one fits pretty neatly. So yeah, time to glue it in. Yeah, I know I'm enthusiastic about hidden treasures in timber, but as I alluded to at the beginning, the teak worktops were rescued from a job site. I saw the skip getting filled and plucked up the courage to go in and just pop my head round. And being a complete beginner, I had no clue of the species, but 4 metre long chemistry benches were being basically carelessly ripped up and chopped in half. I'm not really sure what got into me really. I was geekily dressed and approaching these big salty demolition guys. But I asked them in my best local accent if I could have the wood, and they just stopped and just looked at me. It was really awkward, so I just sort of fumbled along, basically saying, look, I'll remove it all for you, like, it'll save you work, innit, see? And the risk paid off when what looked like the head guy replied, knock yourself out, but I'm having all the copper pipes. And so, yeah, I just took a small block of it away to my brother, who with one sniff said, get the whole lot, Ben, that's teak, your pension right there. So I agreed to come in each morning super early and take the worktops before the demolition team started. Basically simply unscrewing them allowed most of them to come out whole. Now my wife's really used to me coming home all excited. Where are the car keys? I've just spotted some lush old wood being chucked out down the road. I'll be back in 10 minutes. But even she was really impressed with this lot. Now, I borrowed a friend's old circular saw to get some of the bits. He then kindly gave me the saw, to be honest, and a load of other tools of his old ones. So I bought him 2 bits of teak as a thank you, and he made a stunning kitchen table, not hiding the original burns and scars, which I have to say made me question my decision to flip over the worktops for our kitchen. However, with really patient sanding, working evenly over the surface, starting from 40 grit and working up to 120, this wood came out looking really great actually. Now at this stage I had 2 worktops in place and varnished with a matte polyurethane called Clear Glaze by Fiddes. It's just a personal taste, but I really didn't like the orangey look compared to the soft yellowy brown of the freshly sanded teak. And I know teak is super durable, but I wanted to avoid that, that inevitable water staining that builds up over time on unfinished wood. Luckily for me, though, with all the YouTube watching that I do, I came across Pedulla Studio's video where he shows off a trick for stopping some Tasmanian blackwood change colour during finishing. I cycled straight over to Fiddes to get some of the good stuff and did a series of tests on teak offcuts. I made a short video on that and there's a link in the description, but long story short, I found something which for me worked better than the suggestion from Nick at Pedulla Studios. But massive thank you for him to opening my eyes to this world of not ruining your wood colour with the finish. So here we are after the BONA Natural and the Clear Glaze. Let's take a look as we run off the end. That's a comparison with just Clear Glaze. So you can see how the Clear Glaze has got a much more amber colour to it. So it meant I had to sand the other 2 worktops back again. It was quite tough, and really that did highlight just how tough the Clear Glaze varnish is. Okay, well I started now, so there's no going back. So I mean it's a good sign for future wear, but it was a pain for how long the sanding took. There are more details in the testing video as it's not so forgiving to apply, but BONA Natural, a floor primer, pretty much kept the teak colour without filling pores with white specks like some of the other products did. Then on came 3 coats of Fiddes clear glaze to keep the wood watertight and seal in all those dangerous chemicals that commentators like to bring up about pallet wood. Sliding the finished worktops into place was satisfying, and screwing it down brought out the cup just fine. I made some upstands from some very old railway sleepers, which I'm hoping to make a video out of when I get around to it. Your subscription to my channel would be greatly appreciated, and in return you should hopefully get to see a beginner learning to mill an insanely hard wood with a homemade setup. It's been a lot of work, and obviously it would have been quicker to buy worktops online and just get cutting to size, but it's been a pleasure to work with teak, I have to say, and it's something that I guess I won't get to do very often. Of course I've traded time for money, but I really like these worktops and I get to enjoy looking at them every day. So cheesy but true. Using reclaimed wood brought added complications as I had to produce inlays, cover tap holes, square off rounded corner bits, fill screw holes and cover a previous biscuit joint. But I think this all adds to the character. These are all things I learnt from videos by others, so I'm really grateful to them for taking their time to make their videos. As I alluded to earlier, I'm not sure what really triggered me to get out the camera, but I've enjoyed putting this video together. Maybe, just maybe, it might inspire some recycling of timber rather than it going to landfill. Thanks for watching, and even bigger thank you to the dude who just wanted the copper pipes. Diolch yn fawr iawn, buddy.